Chapter 1. The Ghost of My Past. She sits in a quiet room staring down at the marriage certificate, her fingers frozen over the pen. The air is thick with hesitation. This isn't a love match, it's a compromise to ease family pressure, a decision made out of exhaustion rather than desire. She signs her name, barely looking at the grooms. Why should she? It's just a formality. But then, a flicker of ink catches her eye. A name she knows. A name she once loved. Ethan Carter, her childhood crush, the boy who promised her forever, the boy who disappeared without a word. The pen clatters from her hand. The world narrows to that single name. It feels impossible, like a cruel joke. He left. He left her. And now, somehow, he's her husband. Flashback, the boy who was everything. She remembers him as a quiet, intense boy, always watching, but rarely speaking. He was her safe place, her first love, the one who understood her better than anyone. One summer night, beneath the stars, he made her a promise. One day I'll marry you, no matter what. But then he vanished, leaving nothing behind but an empty space where he used to be. For the present, a marriage with no explanation. Panic claws at her chest as her family congratulates her. They don't seem surprised by the name. Did they know? Did they do this on purpose? Before she can demand answers, the door opens. And there he is. Ethan Carter. Older. Colder. A ghost made real. She waits for a sign, recognition, regret, maybe even an explanation. But his expression is unreadable. No warmth, no apology, nothing to acknowledge their past. Instead, he simply says, "Nice to see you again, wife." Her heart pounds. What the hell is going on? Why is he here? Why did he come back? And why do her instincts whisper that he's hiding something? Chapter 2. The Man I Married But Don't Know. The room is too quiet. The air too heavy. The scent of jasmine from the wedding garlands lingers, mixing with something deeper, the weight of unfinished business, of unsaid words. I stand frozen, my hands clenched at my sides as I stare at the man in front of me. Ethan Carter, my husband, the boy who once swore he'd marry me, the boy who left me behind, the boy who never said goodbye. And now here he is, taller, broader, dressed in a crisp black suit that should make him look formal, distant. But no suit could ever hide the storm behind his eyes. I search his face for something, recognition, regret, even guilt, anything to acknowledge what we were, what we lost. But there's nothing. He simply watches me, unreadable, as if he is a stranger, as if we don't share a past soaked in innocent promises and first love. I find my voice, though it's quieter than I want it to be. Why? His expression doesn't change. Why what? My pulse kicks up in frustration. Why the hell is he acting like this? I swallow hard. Why are you here? Why did you... My voice wavers over the word. Marry me? Ethan exhales, slow and measured. He looks away for a moment as if weighing his answer. Then, with terrifying ease, he says, "Because it was arranged." A sharp, cruel answer. I flinch. That's it? No explanation, no confession, like just businesslike indifference? A bitter laugh escapes before I can stop it. That's the best you can come up with? His jaw ticks. It's the truth. No, I snap, stepping closer. The truth is, you left without a word. The truth is, you disappeared, and now you're back acting like that never happened. You expect me to believe that this... I motion between us, between our unwanted wedding rings and the suffocating tension, is just coincidence? His gaze darkens, something flickering there. A shadow of something real. But he buries it, just like he buried me. Believe what you want. His voice is quiet but firm. It doesn't change anything. Rage and heartbreak coil inside me, a dangerous mix. You don't get to decide that. You don't get to pretend like none of this matters. Silence stretches between us, thick with unspoken things. I don't realize I'm trembling until he exhales sharply, as if he's breaking some internal rule just by speaking again. This is how it has to be. His words sound like a decision. Final. Irrevocable. I feel something inside me crack, and I realize whatever pulled Ethan away years ago, it still has its claws in him. The ceremony was small, family only. No grand celebration, no over-the-top festivities. And now, with the guests gone and the house silent, we are alone. Married to someone I don't recognize anymore. I sit on the edge of the bed in the unfamiliar bedroom, staring at the patterns in the carpet. The wedding bangles on my wrist feel wrong, heavy, as if they belong to another girl, one who didn't just have her past resurrected without warning. The door opens. Ethan steps in. My stomach clenches. This is the first time we've truly been alone since the vows. He doesn't look at me as he removes his jacket, setting it over the back of a chair with mechanical precision. The air between us crackles with tension, an invisible line neither of us is willing to cross. I brace myself for something, anything, for an explanation, for anger. Instead, he says, "I'll sleep on the couch." I blink. What? He doesn't repeat himself, just walks toward the small couch against the far wall. That's it? After years apart, after a wedding neither of us expected, this is how he plans to handle things? By avoiding them completely? Something in me snaps. I push to my feet. That's it? You're not even going to acknowledge that this whole thing is insane? His jaw tightens. He runs a hand through his hair, a flicker of frustration crossing his face. But when he speaks, his voice is controlled. What do you want me to say? I want him to say that he never wanted this either. I want him to say that he regrets leaving, that he regrets hurting me. I want him to tell me why. But I know he won't. So instead, I let out a bitter laugh. You always do this, don't you? Just shut down. Just leave. Ethan's body goes rigid. The air between us shifts, the weight of old wounds rising like a tide. For a split second, I swear I see something behind his mask. Something raw. And then, it's gone. He simply turns away. Get some rest. And just like that, he lies down on the couch, his back to me as if none of this is breaking me apart. Sleep doesn't come easily. I lie awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, the quiet hum of the city outside offering no comfort. At some point, I hear Ethan shift on the couch, and then barely above a whisper, so soft I almost don't hear it, he says my name. Lena. I freeze, but he doesn't say anything else. I turn over, my heart pounding. In the dim light, I see his form, still as stone. His face is turned away, but his hand is curled into a fist as if he's fighting something inside himself. I could almost believe that, in the dark with no one watching, he still remembers, that the boy I loved isn't completely gone. I could almost believe that this marriage is real. But I know better, because the truth is, Ethan Carter is hiding something. And no matter how much he tries to keep his distance, I will find out why. Chapter 3. Fractured Promises and Lingering Gazes. Morning comes too soon. I barely slept, my mind running in endless circles around one single truth. Ethan Carter is hiding something, and I intend to find out what. The air in the house feels unnaturally still as I make my way downstairs. The sun spills soft golden light through the windows, but it does nothing to thaw the cold tension lingering between us. I find Ethan at the dining table, a cup of black coffee in his hand, his posture as rigid as the night before. He doesn't look up when I enter. Of course, he doesn't. I sit across from him, ignoring the way my pulse jumps at the simple act of sharing a meal with him again. The last time we did this, we were kids. He would steal pieces of my toast, and I would roll my eyes, pretending to be annoyed. Now we sit in silence. Strangers. I pick up a piece of toast, forcing myself to eat despite the knot in my stomach. A minute passes, then another. Neither of us speaks. It's unbearable. I set my plate down with more force than necessary. Is this how it's going to be? Ethan finally looks at me, his dark eyes unreadable. What? This. I motion between us. You sitting there acting like I'm a stranger, like this whole thing is just some inconvenient business arrangement. His fingers tighten around the handle of his mug, a flicker of something in his gaze, gone before I can grasp it. That's exactly what it is, he says. The words sting more than they should. I let out a slow breath, my nails pressing into my palms beneath the table. Right. Of course. Just an arrangement. Something flashes across his face, too fast for me to catch. Regret? Guilt? Before I can say anything else, my phone buzzes on the table. I glance at the screen. Mira. A name that should bring me comfort. But suddenly, it doesn't. Mira was always the one person I could count on. We grew up together, spent years whispering secrets under the shade of old oak trees, dreaming of the futures we thought were certain. She was there when Ethan left. She held me while I cried, promising me that one day I'd forget him. Now, as I step into the cafe where we agreed to meet, I realize something unsettling. She doesn't look surprised. Not about the wedding. Not about the name on my marriage certificate. I sit across from her, studying her face. Mira has always been good at hiding things behind her easy smile, but I know her too well. You knew, I say, cutting straight to the point. She doesn't flinch. Knew what? I lean forward, my heart hammering. That Ethan was back, that he was the one I was marrying. Mira sighs, stirring her coffee with slow, deliberate movements. avoiding my gaze. I didn't want to be the one to tell you. A bitter laugh escapes me. Right, so instead you let me walk into it blind. She finally looks up, her expression unreadable. Would it have changed anything? Yes, it would have changed everything. I would have been prepared. I wouldn't have sat there, signing my name on that marriage certificate, thinking it was a faceless stranger on the other line, only to find out it was the boy who shattered me. Mira reaches for my hand, her voice softer now. Lena, maybe it's better this way. Something in her tone sends a shiver down my spine. Better? She hesitates, and in that hesitation I see it, the crack in her carefully constructed mask. She knows something. Something about Ethan, about why he left. And she's keeping it from me. I return home with a million thoughts tangled in my mind. Mira's words replay over and over. Maybe it's better this way. Better for who? My pulse quickens as I push open the front door. The house is quiet. Too quiet. I move through the hallway, turning a corner, and nearly collide into Ethan. A sharp inhale, a brief second of closeness. His hands come up instinctively, steadying me before I can fall. His touch is warm, grounding. And just like that, I am 15 again, heart pounding at the simple brush of his skin against mine. I step back quickly, ignoring the way my body reacts to his presence. You're home early. Ethan watches me, his gaze lingering for a moment too long before he responds. So are you. There's something in the way he says it, something that makes me think he knows exactly where I was. He steps past me, heading toward the kitchen, and I follow, partly because I need answers, partly because I can't stop chasing ghosts. Why did you do it? The question slips out before I can stop it. Ethan stills. Do what? I swallow hard. Come back. A tense pause. Then I had no choice. His voice is low, almost too quiet to hear, but the weight in it is undeniable. I take a step closer. Ethan, don't. His voice is sharp now, cutting through the air like a blade. He turns, and for the first time since he reappeared in my life, I see it. The storm beneath the surface. The war raging behind his eyes. I take another step. Tell me. His jaw clenches. It won't change anything. Let me be the one to decide that. Ethan exhales, rubbing a hand over his face, and then, just for a second, his walls crack. I never wanted to leave, he says. The confession sinks into my skin like ice. I open my mouth to respond, but before I can count again, he shuts down again. But I did, and nothing can change that now. Liar. I see it in his stance, in the way he can't quite meet my gaze anymore. Someone forced him to leave. And I won't stop until I know why. Chapter 4, The Lie That Ruined Everything. I can't stop thinking about what Ethan said. I never wanted to leave. It replays in my head like a broken record, over and over until it's the only thing I can hear, because it means one thing: someone forced him to. I don't know who, I don't know why, but I know where to start. Mira. She's hiding something. I saw it in her face yesterday, in the way she carefully chose her words, in the way she knew before I even told her. I pull out my phone, my fingers hovering over her name. I hesitate. If she's keeping secrets, she won't just hand them over. I need proof, and I know exactly where to look. The town library is nearly empty when I step inside. It's been years since I set foot here, but the scent of old books and quiet whispers still feels the same. I make my way to the archives section, my heart pounding as I sift through old newspapers, records, anything from the year Ethan left. And then I find it, a small article, barely a few paragraphs long, buried between stories of town events and business updates. Ethan Carter, son of the late businessman James Carter, leaves town abruptly following undisclosed family matters. I frown. That's it. No details, no explanation, just an impersonal note that barely scratches the surface. But as I scan the page again, my blood runs cold. Because right underneath the article is another story. Local girl's family faces scandal, financial fraud allegations surface. I freeze, because I know that girl. Me. I don't even realize I'm gripping the paper too hard until the edges crumple beneath my fingers. I skim the article, my breath catching with every line. My father, my family, accusations of fraud, whispers of a scandal that never made it past small-town gossip. It never turned into anything real. Or so I thought. But if this was printed right around the time Ethan left? No. A sick feeling settles in my stomach. Did Ethan leave because of me? I storm into the house, my heart hammering so loud I can barely hear my own thoughts. Ethan is in the living room, sleeves rolled up, typing something on his laptop. He barely has time to look up before I slam the newspaper onto the table in front of him. His entire body goes still. He looks at the article, then at me. I cross my arms, my pulse racing. Tell me the truth. He doesn't move, doesn't blink, but something shifts in his expression, like a soldier bracing for impact. Lena, don't lie to me. My voice trembles, but I force it to stay strong. Did you leave because of this? Because of my family? His jaw tightens. A muscle ticks in his cheek. And then he stands. Slowly. Deliberately. I left to protect you. The words are barely a whisper, but they shatter me. I shake my head. What does that even mean? My voice rises, frustration boiling over. You just disappeared, Ethan. No warning, no goodbye, and now you're telling me it was for my own good? His hands clench into fists at his sides. I didn't have a choice. Why? He exhales sharply, turning away, avoiding me. I step forward, closing the space between us. Ethan, look at me. He doesn't. So I grab his wrist, and that's when he looks at me, really looks at me, and in his eyes I see it, the storm, the weight, the agony of whatever truth he's been carrying alone. His voice is quiet when he speaks, because someone told me to leave. The breath leaves my lungs. Who? Ethan hesitates, just for a second, but it's enough. I know the answer before he even says it. Mira, my best friend, the person who held me while I cried over Ethan, the person who always told me I deserved better, the person who knew he was back before I did. The world tilts under my feet as Ethan finally says it. She told me if I cared about you, I had to leave. I stumble back. No, that doesn't make sense. Ethan's eyes darken. She said if I didn't, your father would pay the price. A cold chill runs down my spine. My father? He nods. She said if I stayed, the fraud investigation would get worse, that someone was pulling strings to make sure your family fell apart. I shake my head, the pieces of the puzzle slamming together too fast. None of this makes sense. But at the same time, it does. Ethan was forced to leave. Mira knew, and now? I don't know who I can trust. I drive to Mira's house, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly they ache. My mind is a blur, my heart pounding. By the time I reach her door, I don't even bother knocking. I just push it open. She looks up from her couch, startled. Lena, what's wrong? I hold up the newspaper. How long were you going to lie to me? Mira blinks. But she doesn't look surprised, which means she knew I'd figure it out eventually. I swallow hard. You made him leave. A beat of silence. Then the mask cracks. Her expression shifts. Carefully neutral. I did what was best for you. She doesn't deny it. She doesn't even pretend. I take a step back, the air feeling too thick, too suffocating. Why? Why would you do this? Mira's lips part, but before she can speak, her phone buzzes on the table. She doesn't check it, but I do, and my stomach drops because the name flashing on the screen isn't just anyone. It's Ethan's father's old business partner, the man responsible for the fraud investigation. The room spins. Mira, I whisper, what did you do? She finally meets my gaze, and for the first time in our friendship, I realize I don't know the person standing in front of me. End of part 1. What a journey so far. Lena and Ethan's story is filled with secrets, heartbreak, and undeniable tension, and we're only halfway through. Will Lena uncover the full truth behind Ethan's disappearance? Can they survive the pain of betrayal to find their way back to each other? If you're loving this slow burn emotional roller coaster with plenty more twists to come, make sure to subscribe or follow so you don't miss part 2, where things are about to get even more intense. Stay tuned for chapter 5, The Night He Almost Told Me the Truth, coming soon. And let me know in the comments, do you think Ethan deserves a second chance? See you in part 2.